This is day 218 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. If you would like to sponsor upcoming share of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi or more, it would be greatly appreciated. Today, we are doing Siman Kuf Nun Vav, Sifyu Daled, almost the end of Ilchos Masal Matan, and then we are going to be starting a new section, Ilchos Netilos Yadayim, getting into gradually into the halachos of brachos, Suda and brachos. Exciting. Okay, so Yudaled. Amr Chazal. The Lashon Hara Shaku Kneged Shosh Averos. Lashon Hara corresponds to the three big Averos: Outvodas Kochavim Mazolos, idolatry, arayos, licentiousness, shvichus damim, and blood spilling. Kil Kofer, because if you deny the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Bikkur does not mean that Hashem exists, but Hashem's connection to the world. Ushlosha Lashon Hara Haregas. Lashon Hara kills three people. Ha'omro, the person who says it; B'amkab, the person who accepts it; B'esh Omro, the person concerning whom it's said. B'amkab Yosim in Omro. The person who accepts it is more devastated than the person who says it. But if he sees that there are things here which seem to indicate that it's true, then he's allowed to take into account this Lashon Hara in planning his connection with this person concerning whom he received the information. Things that are the dust of Lashon Hara. Lo Lashon Hara Gomer, not complete Lashon Hara. Ketzad, how so? Kagon she'omer mi yomar leploni she'ekamos she'hu ata. Who will tell so and so that he shall be like he is now? I guess then they'll get into what he is now as a result of that. Oshomer says, "Shitkum mi punish anyone so dia ma ira ma hoya." He says, "Oh, don't talk about so and so because I don't want to tell you what happened." So again, that's going to lead to speaking about him. Follow and say similar things. Anybody who talks over the positive qualities of his friend in front of the people who don't like that person, it too is dust of Lashon Hara. This causes him to speak negatively about him. Somebody who tells Lashon Hara in a manner of scoffing and mocking. He doesn't really mean to speak to Lashon Hara. He's just having fun. Shlomo said that this is Kim Taltla Yorez Kim, somebody who's frivolous and shoots arrows. He says, I'm just fooling around. Going by the Sof who Lashon Hara. Found this sounds it's Lashon Hara. Avona Gomod, and the Aver is very great. Somebody tells Lashon Hara in a devious way. If he's talking innocently. He doesn't know he's saying Lashon Hara. Hashem checks out the hearts. And his heart is clear to him the bad thoughts of that person. The brackets it says, you shouldn't talk about the good qualities of your friend even in front of people who don't detest him. But Roshon explains that a little bit you can say to them because they do like him, but not too much because then it's going to start backfiring. Tesvav, ain't you look at Lashon Hara ben shor in front of but shlo b'front. It's sometimes Lashon Hara whether you tell him in front of the guy or not in front of the guy. If these words will be heard, person to person, to harm one's friend, begufo in his body, or his money, or even just cause him grief, or to cause him fear without any actual damage. Hare is the Lashon Hara. This offers a category of Lashon Hara. Being them with shlosha, if this already was said, this piece of Lashon Hara in front of three people, but kvar nishma davar, the matter has already been heard, but no, then it's well known. And therefore, if one of those three people, to whom it's been told, have related it again, ain't but Lashon Hara, there is no Lashon Hara in this. For who? That's only so Yosef is not doing it deliberately in order to broadcast it abroad. All these people are Bali Lashon Hara. But should also do b'shchunas, not allowed to live in their neighborhood. Koshkin the Sheba, I'm still not to sit with them, Lishmodi Braham, and hear their words. But Lenachtam Gzar Din al Abusain Midbar Eloshin Hara Bilbat. The decree of 40 years in the desert was a decree on account of Lashon Hara on Eretz Yisrael, specifically in that case. Now we said when something said for 3 people, it doesn't have Lashon Hara. That's in the generic case. But if he tells it to 3 people, and when the person tells the 3 people, says, Amar, Shamarti, don't tell over what I told you. One of them goes and does tell. Here's no Lashon of that. How we know that somebody tells to somebody, don't say anything that he's not supposed to until the person gives him permission to tell it. Moshe was told from Moed, go tell Bnei Yisrael. So he was told to tell Bnei Yisrael, wouldn't have told them. Lech and more lahem. Lemor means lech and more lahem. It's like nutricon, like a contraction. So you need permission. Ksiv. Do not take revenge nor bear grudge against people of your nation. Laman, we learn somebody takes revenge against his friend over below that say transgresses the negative commandment. So the son bears a grudge. Even though we don't give you a whipping, the aim is a mice because it's a lav shem. Mice has no actual tangible deed involved. Nevertheless, they are roy armod. It's a very bad trait. El roy lo adam. It's appropriate for person to forgo his personal self-regard and the sense of being slighted and the sense of being unappreciated and the sense of having been wronged. You should be called divrei olam. You should forget about. You should gloss over this in all matters of this world. Because all this matters of this world by people on the sad name Hevel, they are empty vapor, vai, and the lies. It's not worth taking revenge for them. What is nikima? The bearing grudge. I'm sorry, revenge. My friend said, I think it's Amalei Lichavero. Ashileni Kardomcha. Loan me your axe. Loan me Shiloh. We didn't lend the thing. Next day, I'm not sure who the who's in the Chavero and the Chaver is and the who's what. But basically, Reuben said to Shimon, lend me your axe, and Shimon said, I'm not going to loan it to you. The next day, Shimon comes to Reuben and says, I'm not going to lend me your chair. And Shimon says, I'm not going to lend you my chair because you didn't lend me your axe. Right? The friend says, I'm not loaning you, just like you didn't lend me. I raise a noka and second revenge over below sasek. Commits a low sasek. Elitain believe Shalem should give with full heart for last kid cloud should remind him of his bad deeds at all. So Amar David, you go Malti Shamei Ra. I do not reciprocate in kind to those who paid me bad. Remind the Tira what is bearing grudge. Shemashlo, it's when you didn't lend me, but I loan you, and I say to you at the time, Rakshomer lo, and then he comes from not like you. Shalora tzisa lash ili didn't want to lend me. El ani mashilcha, I'm lending to you. Gakir over belab. It's also a commandment. Sharei no terasina. He bears the grudge. He preserves the hatred. For this, he also can come to revenge. El yimacha davar imcha davar lilo grame. You should erase all past grudges from his heart completely. And the Torah has guided us on the proper and beautiful midos, ubruros and clear midos. Not to follow the counsel of the Yitzhar Shem Baba Olam, which confuse the world. Should go in the way of Torah, which it says, all of its pathways are shalom, are peace. Yesh midos rabos tavos raos. There are many good character traits and many negative ones. Can't go into detail about them here. Somebody wants to live in the pathway of Torah. Even you should go turn to the good traits, not the bad ones. And he'll forego his midos when he feels slighted or wronged. Anyway, forgoes those slights and those wrongs. They pass away, they forgo his sins. And loving and other people who are taunted but do not taunt in return. Concerning them, it says, those who love Hashem, like the sun coming out in its might. When a person asks you counsel, advice, you should give him good advice. And do not cause him to deviate from the proper pathway in this matter concerning which he's asking you. This it says, Iver, don't put something back in front of a blind person. Piece of Medrash. Medrash says, Ain, lo the mitzvah kvua l'doros, ma hana yesh lo. So again, it's like Arukh HaShulchan finishes out left field. I assume that it means if a person doesn't have a mitzvah, which is his mitzvah that he pursues, then what benefit does he have? So I guess it means you have to have your own mitzvah which you pursue. So I looked this up. The Pele Yoetz, interestingly enough, Nagdama says that the matter says, mitzvah kula l'doros ma na yeshlo, and therefore Pele Yoetz says, I chose this mitzvah l'zakos sarabim, the writing the Sefer, and he davens to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that Hashem should be kind with him, and he should dwell in Hashem's tent forever. And I also call upon all people who know religion that they should read my Sfarim and darshan my words in public and shuls and Batei Medrash. Maybe Hashem will find favor in me, and He will give me merit that my words will make fruit, and my soul will rejoice in Hashem. And if I merit the being Noam Hashem, seeing the pleasantness of Hashem, visiting His sanctuary, then I will pay, I guess, in Olam Haba, I will try and repay with anybody who brings me a level of pleasure. And he says, especially, he asks his friends, especially his descendants, for eternity, to love his words and to try as much as possible to darsh and expound them in public and keep them very much. So, from this perspective, obviously, mitzvah kula means a mitzvah which will outlast him. Okay, it's which is going to have an impact for generations to come. A person should seek such mitzvos. Solik hilchos maton. Hilchos netilas yadayim. Kufnin zayin. Zman suda, the time at which to eat. So Aleph. Also la'adam lechov lishtos derech zolel v'sove. A person should not eat and drink like a glutton or a but not a good word in English for fresser, but that's what it is. Shemite says, but benenu zeh solel v'sove. The Ben Sarmar, he's somebody who's a glutton, a fresser, and pursues drink. I forgot a previous sefer. I forgot the simon. I forgot it. Mishnah Berurah says that revenge and bearing grudge is not just by tools and vessels and implements, but also by other things that have monetary value. Sorry about that. Okay. B'nei event, he says, Rama chashiv la below taseh gemura. Rama holds not to be zolo sovei as a specific lo saseh being a mitzvah kuf tzadik hey. Because it's one of the tariyat. V'lo el yochel b'derech eretz, a person should eat with propriety. Arukh HaShulchan not in the marketplace. V'lamud not standing up. V'lis baru b'zev sim kuf ayim b'sev d'shmaya. He's going to come back to this later on. Mishnah Berurah writes, even after person's youth, when there's no halacha ben sarmor anymore, after a person's 13 and a quarter, and he's not chayv misa on such forms of eating. Nevertheless, we can see how repugnant and ugly this pattern is. Like it says that they say to the elder city, our son is Zolel v'Sovei. And it says in the Nevi'im, don't be those who are gluttons for wine, and the gluttons for flesh, lomo. And according to Ramban, famous Ramban, being a Parshas Kedoshim, all of this includes a mitzvah of Kedoshim to you. And of course, you should look there at the famous Rav Shem Shkop, Kedoshim to you in Akdama, and read my Shutef's Sefer, Wide in Your Tent, on the topic. Okay, be that as it may. Base. The fourth hour after one rises from bed, is a meal time for every person. It's to involve his learning. Besides Pash Shachris, which you learned about, the light breakfast. So you shouldn't have to stop learning. You have to wait till the noontime hour. And eat either beginning or end of that hour. Not actually, Shosh is not noon hour. It's the 11 to 12, 11 a.m. to noon. So it shouldn't be later than that. Because after noon, it's like tossing a stone into an empty, hollow jug. Of course, like we said, unless you taste the something in the morning. Since bracket time, one should defecate before eating. Can't either walk 4 times 10 amos or arba amos or 10 times 4 amos. Should also prepare a dish from one day to the other, obviously before refrigeration. People are not careful about this. A person should have something ready at hand to touch, to clean his hands. When they touch fats, I guess fats adhere to the hands, unless it's challah, but I think it's chalev, and sham, especially if they're forbidden fats, and they can have come to an issur. The Shabbat says when you get up at dawn, you still mark the hours from the beginning of the day. From Honetz Acham, I would assume. When you get up from your bed later, then you start. No, I guess no, that's not true. So in other words, he's starting it earlier. In which case, the Shah Shishis would either be shows manios if it's right before chatzos, or be earlier if it shows kulos if it's set hours. So we get from Amud Shachar. When you get up from your bed later than that, then you count the hours from the time you got out of bed. So obviously, yes, it's really, it seems like it's standard hours, and it's not necessarily 11 to 12 p.m., 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., but from either dawn, 6 hours, if you're up at dawn, or from the time you wake up. Mishnah Berurah says that workers have to put a little bit extra work in the morning, so they eat in the 5th hour. Berurah says also the beginning of 6 hours is preferable for the Talmid Chacham, and it certainly should not go but later than the end of the hour. Berurah writes that lechatchila you should eat. It's preferable to eat in the Shah Shishis in the 6 hours, even if you ate breakfast. Okay, the laws of washing for a meal. Just want to see if we get up there again. Okay. Chamim said you should wash your hands with water. When you want to eat bread. You wash your hands whether eating chulin, non-holy stuff, ma'aser, or truma. Not when you're handling the food, but when you are eating the food. Truma but for truma, even if you're just touching the food. Hands that have not been safe kept are considered to be automatically by default sheni l'tuma. The sheni also shlishi b'truma, and a sheni l'tuma can make a shlishi b'truma, and then that becomes puzzle. You can't eat it. Because of achila the chulin, they also made the decree to wash hands even when you eat chulin, even though there is no issur to eat tamei chulin, and even though there's no shlishi by chulin. Nevertheless, atu mitzvah kam b'truma ulo yitadayim. Lest you come also to eat truma without having washed your hands. the way they weren't marking touching chulin by touching stuff it's not holy. The dainam nagilas min v'achil chulin. It's good enough that we should get used to eating with netila by chulin. But I've got dainam trumas manazayim. No, we have truma in our day and age. Nevertheless, we come mi maheri banabes hamikdash and the truma v'neida lizar bezeh. So base mikdash should speedily be rebuilt, and we have truma. We have to be learn to be careful. Mishabura adds that in order the Kohanim should be careful with tshuva, they also decreed that every Jew who eats bread is not allowed to eat it until he washes. Base for MS, the lami times everyone goes. The truth is that's not the only reason. El Dashim Zemikrobi Skadashtem. Learn for a pasuk. You should make yourselves holy. Elu Mayim Yishanim. These are waters before the meal. Yana Kedusha, how is this Kadosh? Who can I mean him? It's like it says, so they call Ocha Pas. It's interesting. I learned this Gemara today with my Chabrusis and Saita. Kamiyam Besait that says Saita call Ocha Pas Lonigo V'Yadayim. Anybody eats bread without drying his hands. It's as if he's eating tamei bread. Shneimar says Vayomer Hashem Kochi Yochlu B'nei Yisrael Slachamon Tamei. That's how the Jews eat their bread in Tumah. Below Nigo without drying Yadayim Usos. The hands are repugnant. Now Nigo obviously means with the netila here. The davar mos havi ketuma. And so which is puffing is like tuma. You'll see it says kacha, this way. In other words, eating this way, which is mos, is like tuma. Go ma'am the davar meal is kari tuma. Something which is puffing is called tuma. Is there any kedusha hefan tuma? And that's the concept of kedusha, the antithesis of tuma. Kach rotza kosh baruch Hashem wants shani sahi bin the keys which conduct ourselves with cleanliness, with kedusha, with holiness, tara and purity. The kilos may really day tara. Cleanliness brings a person to purity. Tara may really day precious, and purity brings one to abstinence, kedusha, and holiness. Even though it's a state about drying one's hands, not about the washing hands. Come nevertheless pshita. It's obvious. The shal ikar netila vade have lechem tamei. The shal ikar netila. Sorry. The primary part is the washing, and if not, if you don't wash your hands, it's certainly not tummy. The other maskana say your hands might come into something unhygienic or disgusting. There's also evidence from the Torah for this. Until Sidaim was a prevalent thing. It says v'yadav lo shataf v'mayim sham. Even though there it's talking about going to the mikveh, but the Torah uses lotion of yadav lo shataf v'mayim for tara. So we see there's any of taras yadayim as well, if not according to Pashup Shah and the pasuk. I'm sorry, according to Pashup Shah and pasuk, if not going to the drash in the pasuk. Practically says with Zem move on. With this is understood. Mashi Sasham, that which says there Tilas Adayim Mishum Srach Truma. The time is because of the taste or the concern of truma, and also because it's a mitzvah of listening to the words of chachamim. Pirusha Taish Shum Nekiyos. Taish said it's a mitzvah shema divrei chachamim is because of cleanliness. Ayin sham. Any move on kal seems to be understandable. But according to what he wrote, Asi Shapir, it works out well. Chachamim hem bebrachos maybe skadish them. The words of Chazal are that's words Chazal in brachos from the skadashtem. Sanctify yourselves. And this seems to probably be the meaning of Tosfos as well.